Hello everyone, Nick Walsh again from 2 Clicks Up. I hope you all had a good Christmas and a good New Year. I hope hope Santa was kind to you in what you got. I did okay. Now we're going to talk about a rifle I've got here. It's the Ruger American, and this one's chained within 22-250. It's a nice little rifle I've got. I've had it for a little while now. I bought it as a package from the barn at Oakey. It comes fitted standard with a Vortex 3-9x40 scope, some rings, all on weaver bases. Okay, now that package when I bought it was about $740 odd, which I think is pretty good value. This is another one of the rifles they mark as an entry-level rifle, so we'll have a bit of a look at it from front to back. We might even pull it apart and have a look inside. So here we go. And we'll start from the back. We'll firstly check to see it's nice and clean. Nice. That's a very, very large bolt on that for a 22 cal rifle. That's a very big bolt. We'll discuss that in a minute. We have a nice soft little recoil pad. These stocks are again those plastic moulded stocks, you know, that all these entry-level rifles seem to come with now. As you move forward, I'll shut that up. There is nothing in that. We have two position safety, just where your thumb is on top of the pistol grip. That's nicely positioned. That's quite user-friendly. There's no problems there at all. Now the biggest thing these rifles have is the Ruger Marksman trigger. Can we get a good close-up of that one? We got the Ruger Marksman trigger, which is basically a knockoff of the Savage Accu trigger. Most of the major rifle brands have got them now. And you see with the Marksman trigger, when the rifle that's in an uncocked position, we have the little tang in the middle there. Once the rifle is cocked, that tang comes out, and that will visually show you that rifle is cocked and ready to fire. As soon as you look at that, you pull that, it won't fire. You pull that trigger on its own, it will not fire. You can't move it. You have to take that, which engages everything in the middle, then click. Now that trigger clicks at about somewhere between 2.5 to 3 pounds. That's not bad. They are user adjustable, and we'll get to that down the track. So that's our trigger. We move forward again with the stock, with the plastic stock. The Vortex scope, lifetime Vortex warranty, nice little pair of rings on weaver bases. Okay, now they're a recessed crown rifle, a little recession on the crown there, so it protects the muzzle. So that's a pretty good thing. One thing about these, the trigger guard is integrated into the moulded stock. There's a couple little swivel stud holes moulded into the stock there, and to the front I've taken them off. I don't use swivels at all. Now they're fitted with one of these little 4-shot box magazines that they all seem to come with, these little factory rolling magazines. They all seem to come with those now. Now to remove the bolt from the rifle, on the back side there we have a little lever. We push that in like that, and out she comes. Simple as that. Anyway, as I said, we got a fairly big bolt for a rifle of a 22 caliber. That's quite nicely machined, the triple locking lugs, all that sort of thing. That's a really sturdy, that's quite a heavy bolt, that. Now the rifle itself, dry with the bolt and the magazine, no ammunition, weighs about 3.25 kilos, which is a bit over 7 pound in the old money, I think. Yeah, something like that. It's just a dot over 7 pound in the old money. Not a heavy rifle on its own. Now a lot of that is to do with these plastic stocks. And I'll talk about them a lot, and we'll get to them later. Now this is what we push with these things. There's your cartridge. These are all home loads. Now I push one of these. I push these Hornady VMAX, 55 grain VMAX cartridges out of one of these I use 35.5 grains of ADI 2206H powder, and that is a fairly deadly little load. These guns, as they come, are quite a shooter. The barrels are factory floated. They're chambered in all the popular calibers. You can get them in 223, 243, 308, 3006, 22, 250, and I think that is about 5 or 6 calibers you can get them in. All the popular ones. You don't go chasing the silly ones because you just won't find them. I think you can get them in 272. So that's basically that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull the rifle apart. See if I can do that without breaking things. Turn him upside down. Allen key, we put him in there. Come on, in you go. Gary. He doesn't want to come out, this bloke. Gary. he is. He was nice and tight. There he goes. And dropped him. We'll find his mate at the back here. So two screws hold the whole show together. Now what we'll do is we do him. We'll just hold it together so we don't drop things and smash scopes, etc, etc, etc. There he is, he's out. Where's his mate? His mate's gone around there. So we'll get him, we'll bring him back. There's the stock. That barrel will sit there for me just like that on the scope. Now let's sit this stock up the right way first. Now this is where things start to get fairly interesting in these guns, in these rifles rather. Now, that is right there, they're the same thing. Now we'll start with the stock first. Now if you have a look at these stocks there, those plastic moulded stocks that everybody's got, they've got different crisscross shapes and what have you in the front. The difference with this one is these big mounting pillar blocks. That rifle, that barrel, will sit in those blocks. You can see the grooves in the receiver there. They sit absolutely snug as a bug in those mounting blocks there. See, yep, that's them. Those two there. You can see that's where the action screws go in, and they sit in those mounting blocks right there. And that's basically better than pillar bedding. That's really good bedding. They're as solid as a rock in there. There will be very little, if any, bedding required in there. Like I don't think you'd really have to put too much in there at all to make that a shooter. But what we can do with this one, your biggest problem here is a bit of flex in the front of the stock. So I'll be doing a little repair job on that. I'll knock a bit of those little crisscrosses out, and I'll put some sort of filler in there just to give that a bit of weight, because that's light as a feather. That I'll put a bit of weight and a bit of sturdiness in the stock just to bulk it up a bit. And I'm going to do the same, because I'll pull this recoil pad off, and that's all hollow in there, inside there. That is as hollow as a margarine tin. We'll fill that up with some sort of filler, probably like a silicon filler or something like that, just to put a bit of weight in the stock. Not that there's a great deal of recoil from these 250s, but these things, they are a shooter. That's a really good, they're a shooter. You don't often get bedding blocks like this in cheap economy rifles. I think that's what they call them, entry-level rifles. You just don't get that, and that's a really good thing that Rube has done. So we'll put this stock up here. I've already actually cut a bit, like just filed all these little edges away with sandpaper, and so that barrel is floating very well. It's fine. It's as solid as a rock. And we come to the receiver. That's the workings of the adjustable trigger. In there, you adjust it with that little screw at the front there. When we get into all of this, we'll muck around with the trigger a little bit, and we'll do a few trigger pulls so we can get that down to something really nice. Again, entry-level rifle. The machining's not brilliant. It's not the smoothest bolt action in the world, but it's functional. It works. And if you want super smooth, go out and spend $2,000 or $3,000. That's what I say. Like I firmly believe that you want to be very honest with yourself on what you're going to do with your rifle. These for hunting, walking around in the back of the ute, up the back of the truck, whatever, in the car, perfect, absolutely perfect rifle. They're not heavy, not too heavy to handle. They're priced right. They shoot really well, and they're reliable. They're Ruger. They're reliable. They just don't break down. These things. They're as good as gold. So I'll leave this video here for now. As we go in the next few weeks, I'm going to muck around with the stock. I'm going to smarten that up. I'm going to get into the scope rings. I might lap the scope rings, just give the scope a better tie down, better contact with the rings rather. These are the factory rings that it came with. I may try and find some better ones, I don't know, but they seem to do the job. Once again, we're not dealing with a very big recoil rifle, so we're not knocking all this gear around too much. So we should be pretty right with the gear we've got. So hopefully we're going to get this, pardon me, this cheapish rifle, and we're not going to spend a whole lot of stuff. And the places we're going to buy stuff for it are places like Bunnings and Mitre 10, like hardware stuff. We'll fill the stock with some acrylic filler or silicon filler or something like that. We'll put some, we may knock these little crisscrosses out a bit. We might put a bit of fiberglass chop and some resin in there, some chop mat and some resin in there, just to harden that right up. We'll see how we go here. We don't want that to sort of collapse in on itself. That's what we're trying to avoid. So we'll see how we all go. All right. So that's it for now. But stay tuned. There is more to come, and we will, once we finish this series, we will actually go and shoot the gun. With what we've done, we'll play around with it or shoot it. We might even do a bit of load development. So there we go. All right. See you soon. Thank you.